Good morning. Authentic relating is when the real me connects with the real you. Like singing in tune, connecting well is what us humans are designed to do. And when we get it right, it can be amazing, but when we get it wrong, as we all know, it can be painful. Now, when I was little, when I was a young girl, maybe of about 5 or 6, my dream when I grew up was that I would be a star of the musical stage. Perhaps I'd take the lead in Evita or West Side Story. And I would spend hours in front of the mirror, belting out tunes on my standard issue hairbrush, practicing those tunes. And then I'd put on these lavish performances for my family. I'd design the program, I'd serve refreshments, I even had the cheek to charge for the tickets. And then, of course, I was the star role, and every other part as well in these performances. There was only one problem, which was very obvious to my long-suffering older brother, but not to me. And that was, I couldn't sing in tune. And no, they didn't tell me. And I didn't really pick up the hint even when, aged 9, I was cast as the non-singing palm tree in the production of Joseph. I also didn't pick up the hint when I was asked to turn the pages for The Pianist instead of singing with the rest of my house in the school competition. In fact, it wasn't until I was 14 and the new music teacher came in and decided to re-audition the choir. I was the only one who got kicked out. And I remember that sort of long walk of shame the next day when I had to go and join the remnant of my class instead of being in the choir with the rest of my friends who were looking down from the balcony. So it took me a while, but I did realize I was going to have to review my career choice. But what I didn't know then, but do know now, is that it is possible for people like me to sing in tune. Researchers have discovered that apart from a very small minority of us, the people considered bad singers can get better with some retraining. And the same is true with authentic relationships. All of us can have great relationships. It's just that some of us find it easier than others. We can probably all think of someone in our life who seems to relate with complete ease. They're the sort of people who are totally comfortable in their own skin. And when we're with them, we feel their genuine interest and attention. They're kind, they're understanding, they're trustworthy. They're compassionate, they're fun, they're full of life. And they are slow to judge, but very quick to empathize. They're the sort of people who are happy to talk about their hopes and dreams in life, but they're also comfortable being vulnerable and telling you about their fears and failures and things that don't look so shiny. But then there is the rest of us. The rest of us who, to whatever degree, don't have perfect relationships, certainly not all the time. Admittedly, some of us are probably not doing too badly. We're doing okay. But there will be others of us who certainly sometimes really don't want to reveal to anyone what's going on in the inside and struggle sometimes with our relationships. But it didn't start off like that. Babies can gurgle in tune. And also, babies don't have a problem showing up as themselves or connecting with other people. It's what they do instinctively. But as we start to grow, we start to develop answers to the 3 big questions, depending on our response to people around us. Am I okay? Can other people be trusted? And does what I do matter? Now, to the extent that we can answer yes to those 3 questions will depend on the extent that we can be authentic and show up well in our relationships. And it will depend on how we interpreted the actions of the people around us as we started to grow up. Did we get the general message that we're lovable? Did we get the message that other people can be depended on? And did we get the message that what we do matter? Or did we pick up the general idea that somehow we're lacking, that we're not clever enough, that we're not thin enough, that we're not sporty enough, that we're not good-looking enough or funny enough or whatever enough, fill in the blank? And did we get the message that other people can't be depended on, that they're unreliable, that they can hurt us, and that they will disregard our needs? And did we conclude that what we love doing isn't important, and that if we want to be successful, we really should be doing something completely different? But the truth is, you and I are okay. In fact, you are more than okay. You are special, you're unique, and you are lovable. And people can be trusted. Not everyone and not all the time, but there will be people who you can rely on. And what you do does matter. And there will be people, work, and causes that need the contribution that only you can make. But do we believe those truths to be true? To the extent we don't, we will compensate and try to protect ourselves. It's the relationship equivalent of singing out of tune. Some of us will play small, will hide away, will try to be less than we are. It's a bit like a note played flat. For example, we might say no, when actually we'd really like to say yes. Or sometimes we'll say yes when everything inside us is screaming no, but we don't have the voice to stand up and say it. Maybe when we're really hurt and angry, we'll just blame ourselves and withdraw. And maybe we'll focus on all the things that are wrong about ourselves, or that we think are the mistakes in our lives, and we'll find it really hard to accept praise from others. But some of us will try and protect ourselves by puffing ourselves up and trying to make ourselves look big. It's as if we're trying to be more than we are, to pretend to be something that we're not. It's like a note that's played sharp. For example, we might be overly confident and highly independent. And when we're hurt and angry, we'll blame others, and we'll criticize them. And we'll only show the really good bits of ourselves and hide away all the rest. But whether we choose to protect ourselves by using flat behavior or sharp behavior or a little bit of both, the trouble is that when we relate off-key, it is off-putting to other people. And the thing is, what we're doing is we're trying to hide ourselves away. We think somehow, at some level, if we don't show up as ourselves, that we'll fit in and we'll stay safe, that we won't be rejected or embarrassed or hurt. But the opposite is true. If we don't show up as ourselves, then people can't love us and accept us and know us for who we are. And that's a high price to pay. It's as if we're choosing protection, but the cost is a lack of connection. I was at 21 when I first realized that my relationships weren't as great as I thought they were. I was at university, and things looked pretty good on the surface. I had 300 friends in my address book, which in today's currency I think would probably translate into about 2,000 people on Facebook. And I had an endless stream of party invites, and certainly had a few boyfriends as well. But then my bubble burst, just before my final year at university. My older brother died suddenly of an overdose. And I can remember what it was like when the people who I thought were my friends crossed over the road not to talk to me. What I longed for was a friend who would care enough to break through their discomfort and come and sit with me in my grief, even though I actually really didn't know what I was feeling. And it was in that moment that I realized it's not the friends you can count that matter, but the friends you can count on. And I'd spent so many years in a sort of protective bubble, only showing my successes. I'd spent years mastering how to hide my negative emotions and my fears and my failings. But the problem was it meant that people didn't really know me. And I knew if I carried on like that, I wouldn't have the depth of relationships that I longed for in my life. And so in the 24 years since my brother died, I have made it my mission and my job to find out how to have deeper and better connections and to help other people do the same. And the good news is we can retune. We can come better at relationships. We can rediscover what we once already knew, how to show up as ourselves and connect authentically with other people. I read a great blog recently by a woman called Anita Mathias, which was entitled, "Being Authentic is Tricky, but Not Being Authentic Can Be Heartbreaking." And that sums it up beautifully for me. If we want to become more authentic, we do have to be vulnerable and share who we are on the inside. But for some of us, that feels deeply uncomfortable. But I know that the alternative is rarely, if ever, better. A life of protection can lead to loneliness and regret. We need to find people who are safe to share with, people that we can trust. And we can take small steps and start to reveal more of us as it starts to feel a little bit more comfortable. We can exercise our vulnerability muscle. And as people start to share with us, we can start to share bigger things as it feels comfortable. We don't have to share with everyone on our social network. We can be discerning about who the people are we can trust. And just like when we're learning to sing, we need people who can sing in key. When we're learning to relate better, it helps to have people in our lives who are further down the road than us. People who can model what it looks like. And whether it's a friend or a parent or a teacher or a mentor or a coach, we need at least one person in our life who can see our potential and who can encourage us in that, can champion us, and can challenge us when needed. And retuning will also involve some rethinking. We can get stuck in our thoughts of who we are and what we need to be. And sometimes curiosity can help that. We can start to think about, who are we? And instead of listening to what we think we should be or what we think other people think we should be, we can tune in to that still, small voice inside who knows exactly who we are and what is needed in any given moment. And we can get curious about other people too. We can get so busy comparing what's going on our inside to other people's outsides. But if we get curious, we can find out more about what life is like for them on the inside. What does life look like through their lens? And as we start to see people and situations, not as we think they are, but as they really are, it will help our connections. We won't get better at authentic connections overnight. It's a process. As the Skin Horse said in the children's classic, The Velveteen Rabbit, being real doesn't just happen. You become. It takes a long time. Whether you realize it yet or not, each one of you here is unique, and you have an amazing gift to offer the world, the gift of you. And so I want to say, let us all sing like no one is watching and relate like everyone is. Thank you. you.